Life is all about dreams, goals, and aspirations. I don't know whether it's the definition of life based on society or based on the teachings of our traditions and perspective cultures or our guardians. But we always dream of being at a particular point or a particular place in life. For example, I want to be married on this particular day, or in this particular age. I want to have, in so many years, I want to have a house, a car, and business running. In this year, I want to be in this country doing this. But what happens when, just when you're about to have that accomplished, just when that breakthrough is about to happen, and then something else happens that hinders you from accomplishing your dream, your goal? What do you do then? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Living to Inspire. I'm your host, Marita Pello. Yes, and fortunately, just as you read by the title, pregnant in BMT, basic military training in America, we call it. So, at Living to Inspire, we're all about authenticity with not only ourselves, but with other people as well, and with how we live in our daily lives. And that is not something that I've been able to do with myself of late. And I have stayed quiet for so long because I was very much afraid and frightened by what the public would say. You know, we call it judging. What my family would say, what my friends would say, and all the name callings and the laughter that which will be upon my life and everything of sort. And it was only tonight that, after speaking with somebody very special and dear to me, that I was able to have that courage to be able to come on this camera and share exactly that which took place, in hopes that I can inspire somebody out there. So, in the past years of my life, I have placed myself in relationship after another relationship, simply because I was trying to replace the fatherly love I did not receive growing up from my father, as well as the love that I thought I didn't receive from my guardians as well, and that's my aunt or my mother particularly, or just family members in general. I was trying to find all that in the relationships that which I kept on finding myself. And times without number, these relationships did not work. We're still here. They did not work. And honestly enough, I struggled a lot in school, not because I am unintelligent. No, I'm a very intelligent young girl, I can assure you of that. But because I misplaced my priorities. I didn't quite know how to balance such a huge thing as being in a relationship and going to school. Of course, I definitely knew what came first, which is God, school, family, and then everything else underneath it. For me, I unconsciously ended up prioritizing my relationships over everything else. And because of that, a lot of things in my life crumbled, such as my relationship with God, my relationship with my mother particularly, whom I so love dearly, and every aspiration or dream or goal that which I had in my life. And at the end of the day, I found that time was moving. As they say, my friends were succeeding, my cousins were succeeding, my sister was succeeding, and here I was stuck in the same place doing one thing over and over and over and over and not actually succeeding at it. And honestly enough, I would sit and I would say, you know what? No more relationships. I'm no longer adding myself in any relationship right now. I'm just going to focus on school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Yeah, but talking and actually doing something is a bit hard. To talk the talk and be able to walk that talk. And I can surely tell you that in my final year of being in high school, I had been accepted to go to a certain school in China of medicine, and they were going to sponsor my schooling expenses But I wasn't entirely going to China for school. I was going to China I wanted to go to China simply because my so-called fiance was in China. And see what I'm saying there? The misplacement of priorities. And because of that, I had been accepted in a school here in America. I missed out on the chances of being able to sign up for classes, being able to sign up whether I want to live on campus and all of that. And then I found myself working in mediocre places, working in one restaurant after the other, having mediocre jobs that were doing me nothing and no good at all. And because I didn't have any knowledge of stewardship, which is being able to plan your finances, or sort of like break down your finances, or just know how to handle money particularly, I ended up spending my money, of which I was gaining from these mediocre jobs, on shoes and jewelry and handbags and just things that didn't quite matter, in such a way that if my parents were to put me out today, which they've done in the past, I literally wouldn't have anywhere to go, and I don't have anything to my name to be able to go and rent an apartment. So last year, I eventually decided that I was going to join the military, for the reasons that, for sure, it was going to set my life up. In the next so many years, I was definitely going to have something consistent, and my payment was going to be of a higher, what do you call this, wedge, for the lack of better words, rather than working mediocre jobs times and again, you know. And after a lot of research and seeing a lot of ads on the television and social media, particularly Facebook, to say, because I'm found on Facebook most of the time, and being convinced by my sister, who's my absolutely savior, my human savior, apart from God being the number one in my life for sure, that she's my best friend in so many weird and defined ways. And after she talked some sense into me, which she's done numerous times, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to join the military, you guys. But all of that had to come with a lot of courage, because being able to join in the military, and of course a lot of us have got that perspective to say, when you join the military, you're going to war, and for the fact that you're going to war, you're going to come back dead. So I had to marinate that in my mind and be able to be okay to go to war and actually die for people that probably don't even know me and people that don't love me at all. But that's not the case, because there's so many other jobs in the military that people don't even get to go to war. And if they die, it's probably out of a natural cause, such as high cholesterol or a heart attack or somewhat. But yes, so after a lot of convincing, if that's even a word, I'm not quite sure, with my sister, I was like, okay, we're going to actually and finally do this. But all of that had to come with my parents being okay, of which I knew that my mother, who does not take any BS from anybody, and I mean anybody, not even her own children, pardon the havoc language, how was I going to break this news to her that her child was finally making the decision of not only putting her messy life together, but going into the military of all things? I won't lie to you, I didn't have this conversation with my mother to begin with. I sort of like just did it, you know, under the mattress or under the table under the table, without her being aware of anything that was happening. And that night, after I talked to my sister, because the recruiters usually go into high schoolers to talk to students that are just, you know, about to graduate from high school, or kids that want to join the military as soon as they're out from high school. And she happened to have his contact card, and she gave it to me, and I thought about it a week. Literally for like a week. It took me a week for me to sort of like just be okay to even send that text like, hey, good afternoon, this is blah 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 blah, I got your contact from this person and I want to join the military. To which I did. And there's this automated message that comes back to say, oh, thank you for contacting us. Unfortunately, we're not here, but we'll definitely give you a call. And I remember being so impatient, so I ended up calling him, and I'm like, this person, why is he being like this? And the next day he called me, but I was actually at school. And I excused myself, obviously, and went outside to talk because this was a very important call for me. Again, misplacement of priorities. I left class to go and talk to the sergeant. So he was like, okay, there's a quick interview that I'm going to subdue to you, and do you have some time? And I was like, yes, I absolutely have time, which I did not have, by the way. So he starts asking me questions. How old are you? How tall are you? He was a bit iffy on my height, but he was like, you know what, you make the mark. That's all that matters. You can absolutely join. Do you have any criminal records? Do you have anything that could hinder your chances of joining the military? And I'm like, no, sir, I do not. He goes, okay, perfect. Well, you've passed the interview. What's going to happen now is I'm going to send you a link. You're going to take this test, which is called the ASVAB. I don't know what the abbreviation of it means, but yes, you're going to take the ASVAB test at home, and we'll go from there. And I was like, sorry, you guys, my setup just completely fell apart. Just give me one moment. There we go. And I was like, okay, perfect, we're going to do this. And so he sent the email right away, and I didn't take this test until the following day. And I think the following day, I think was Thanksgiving, because I remember my mother cooking a very grand meal. If it wasn't Thanksgiving, then I don't know why she was cooking, but she was cooking something big. And I remember coming upstairs and going into the office and taking that test. And the following day, he contacted me back, and he said, oh, the test came out. These were your results. So now you just need to go to MEPS, which is Military Entry Processing Services, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for you to go take the actual ASVAB test. So that ASVAB, you taking that ASVAB at home is sort of like a pre-entry process, a pre-test to see whether you've got the capabilities of actually going to take it in person and passing. I think for me, that's how I see it. And for the fact that I passed it at home meant that even if I went into MEPS, there's a higher chance of me passing that test. And he said, okay, yeah, we're going to do it on this particular day. You need this time and whatever. And I did not tell my mother. I didn't tell my mother at all. And I was actually very honest and blunt with this sergeant, because I was like, you know what? I don't have an automobile for me to get from point A to point B. So I don't know how I'm going to transport myself from here to this. Of course, I can take public transportation, but for one, that's going to take me forever, and it's going to cost a lot of money. He goes, no worries, we'll send an airman to you to come and pick you up. And I said, okay. And an airman is a person who's graduated from the AirForce branch, basic military training, and I don't know what that process is called, but it's like they come back from training and they're at the office. So they kind of run errands for 2 weeks, and basically that's what these people were doing. So they will come pick me up and take this particular person where they came pick me up, took me to MEPS. First took me to the recruiter's office. Then I went to MEPS to take the test, and turns out that I had passed the test right there and then. So when I came out, of course, I went to the liaison office, which is the Air Force's office in the MEPS building. And they're like, congratulations, you've passed and this and that. Just go back to your recruiter and they'll be able to notify you what your next process, what the next step is. So I went back there. He gave me a packet. Pardon me, I was about to say pocket. He gave me a packet that which is supposed to sign, and after you've signed everything, then you bring it back and we'll go on from there. And in this packet is basically, you need to fill in the information, your past history, where you've lived, you know, how long you lived there, the addresses, the schools you attended, people that could attest to your character being authentic, and why it is that you want to join, you know, this branch of the armed forces of the United States of America. And there was a bit of a problem, you guys. Even though I had friends that I could add to this packet, I couldn't add my brother and sister's information or my parents' information because my parents did not know that I was doing this whole process of joining the military. So then it turns out that I now needed to talk to my mother to notify her of the big decision I had made. Yeah, that didn't go. It went well, but it didn't go well at the same time. I remember keeping that packet for like 2 nights straight. I had obviously started filling out the information, but when it came to my parents' information, I didn't quite add it just yet. I just kind of kept the packet to myself. Anyways, that is all I have for you tonight. If you'd like to know the part 2 or the second part of the story of what happened when I went into BMT and actually found out that I was pregnant and whatever happened after that, comment in the comments, and yeah, we'll go from there. That's all I have for you guys. Never forget to always hashtag living to inspire. I love you all. God bless.